The Nintendo Switch 2 was the first console I have ever purchased on release day. I initially pre-ordered it from Target, but they hit me with a week late delivery date, and being the impatient gamer that I am, I wasn't willing to wait that long. So I was there, at Best Buy, at midnight, waiting for their doors to open. 2 hours in line later, and I was the proud owner of the Switch 2. I immediately rushed home to play the launch title everyone was talking about, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. It's a brand new console, and what better way to get accustomed to all its new features than with the free tech demo What?
Hi, this is Gianne calling on behalf of the Nintendo department for things you won't like. We're just calling to inform you that this game isn't free and you did in fact spend $10 on a tech demo. Alright, have a lovely day.
Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Proof that even free games aren't safe from the $10 price increase. Alright, I know everyone has been ragging on about the price, so I'm curious to explore everything this game has to offer to see if the hate really is justified. So what is this game? Well, first, you pick an avatar from a long list of characters, each with different colored hair, skin tones, and clothes. This list was seemingly endless, with the different aspects being randomized on the fly. So I opened up the game on a separate profile to test this, and sure enough, both files had different sets of characters. Sort of a weird route to go instead of just including a character customizer, but maybe this was all part of the tech demo to showcase how seamlessly it could randomize and spit out an infinite number of different entities. I feel like that isn't super advanced, but this is Nintendo, so who knows what they were going for. After selecting your character, you enter the exhibit to begin your Nintendo Switch 2 tour. The entire venue is split up into 12 different areas, labeled A through L, with each area taking place on a different piece of Nintendo Switch 2 hardware or accessory. The first part of the tour mostly has you visiting parts of the console that were included in the box. The left Joy-Con, the main console, the right Joy-Con, inside the right Joy-Con, the Joy-Con strap, the dock, inside the left Joy-Con, and the grip. The later parts of the tour mostly bring you to the additional accessories that launched when the console did, such as the camera, the Pro Controller, and the wheel, with the final exhibit taking place inside the main console. Each area houses 4 main activities to partake in: the Stamp Rally, Tech Demos, Minigames, and Insights, or quizzes. All activities are designed to showcase the different parts of the console or the piece of hardware you're currently standing on. The stamps and quizzes almost always relate to the area you're in, but the minigames and tech demos only really relate to the area about half the time. So let's dive into each of these different attractions and see what they have to offer. The Stamp Rally is the main indicator of progression in this game. Scattered throughout each area are hidden stamps that you must find. The stamps aren't placed randomly though, and all relate to different buttons or pieces of the hardware you're standing on. For that reason, most stamps were very easy to find. Walking around prominent buttons will always reveal a stamp, and walking around the edge of the exhibit was usually a surefire way to collect around 8 or more stamps, since that's where they were located for the pieces of the hardware you couldn't access. Most stamps weren't that interesting and just showcase things you can already see with your own eyes. The Joy-Con 2 grip area stood out to me for having some of the most filler stamps. Like, was it really necessary to highlight all 4 rubber caps or the Nintendo Switch 2 logo? On the flip side, the inner area of the console had some of the more interesting stamps, since these were parts we couldn't see with our own eyes. I think they knew this would be the case too, which is why they saved this area for last. Once you've collected every stamp in an area, you unlock the next area. The stamps are the only thing required to progress, so you can beat the entire game without interacting with any games, tech demos, or quizzes, if that interests you for some reason. There is one more collectible found in each area, and that's the lost and found items. Each area has one random piece of equipment that a visitor has misplaced, and once you found it, you can return it to the information desk in the first area. You can only carry one item at a time though, so you'll have to travel back there a lot throughout your tour. These don't unlock anything though, so you're really just returning them out of the kindness of your heart. The tech demos are where we really start to see what the console is capable of. They seem to focus on 3 main aspects: visuals, sounds, and the Joy-Cons. These are mainly used to showcase new Switch 2 features, and don't focus as much on things the original Switch could already do. Each demo has a checklist of tasks, and a medal is rewarded if all are completed. The medals help unlock new minigames, but since the tech demos only grant 1 medal, they aren't the best source of them. The first tech demo, Maracas Physics, showcases the new HD Rumble 2 by simulating shaking maracas containing balls of different sizes and materials. The smaller beads aren't super impressive to shake around, but the larger rubber ball is what really blew my mind. The vibrations truly felt like there was a rubber ball in my controller, especially when I let it bounce around on its own. I can't tell how much the Rumble has improved since the Switch 1 though, because I admittedly had the Rumble turned off for much of that console's lifespan. Whoops. The second tech demo, HDR Fireworks, can be played on either an HDR-compatible TV or the console's handheld screen. It showcases the console's HDR feature that really makes brighter colors pop. You can shoot out loads of fireworks and can pause it at any time to see how different it looks with HDR on and off. The third tech demo, Super Mario Bros. 4K, shows that the Switch is 4K compatible in the most Nintendo way possible. They show that every pixel from the Super Mario Bros. First stage can fit entirely on a single screen. I saw this one demonstrated on Nintendo Treehouse, and ever since then I've been super excited to try it out. Okay, one quick trip to Best Buy and I'm ready to play. You're locked to stage 1-1, but you can still do everything it has to offer, like reach the flag, go underground, and even game over. Yes, this is just one stage from a game that has been re-released a million times, but this is still such a fun way to demonstrate how far we really have come. Nintendo is always listening. And that's most apparent in the fourth tech demo, Noise Reduction, that shows off noise cancellation features of the console's built-in microphone. It's supposed to filter out any unwanted noise, but when I screamed right into the mic, it just cancelled it all out. Clearly it doesn't work too well. The fifth tech demo, HD Rumble 2 Sound, genuinely blew my mind. It uses the Joy-Con built-in vibration to simulate real sounds without a speaker. You can play the coin collection and 1-up sounds from Mario, and it really sounds like it's coming from a speaker, but it's all vibrations. It's like a more advanced version of what the Wii remotes had, and it's one feature I really hope games utilize. Kyle from Beyond the Fourth Wall here. Past me is an idiot. The old Joy-Cons had this too. I completely forgot that Super Mario Party played a jingle when it was your turn. Considering this technology was here all along and never got used, I doubt past Kyle will get his wish. Alright, gotta go. The sixth tech demo, Super Resolution, shows how the console can use machine learning to enhance lower resolution input to look better. The spinning models start at 360p, but can be upscaled to 1080p thanks to the new Super Resolution technology. It's hard to tell how authentic this actually is, so we'll need to see it in action in a real game before we can judge how well it really works. The seventh tech demo, Dual HD Rumble 2, requires handheld mode to work. It uses HD Rumble to simulate holding a box full of balls, and by tilting the entire system, you can feel them rolling around the courses. You can even cut the lights and change the ball types to let the rumbling tell you all you need to know about what's going on in the dark. The eighth tech demo, HD Rumble 2 Saw, is the lamest of the HD Rumble showcases. All you do is move the mouse controls to move a saw back and forth, with the rumble simulating how it might feel. There's a ton of rumble demos in this game, and this one doesn't stand out from them. At least it simulates working outside, something I'm sure we all haven't experienced in a while. The ninth tech demo, Dual Mouse Water Scoop, showcases how the console is capable of using two mice at the same time, and how a game might implement this feature. Each mouse controls a platform, and you can use them to guide the water through the stage to the water mill to power the light bulb. It features multiple stages and limited water, so you'll need to restart if you can't guide it correctly in time. The 10th tech demo, Echo Generator, is another microphone-based demo. You start by talking into the console's mic, and can then change how the sound echoes back to you. You can hear a regular echo,
a low-pitch echo,
The 11th tech demo, VRR Slider, lets you mess with the console's frame rate. In this one, you can change the fixed frame, the variable frame, and the variable refresh rates of the console. It doesn't just simulate it either, it actually adjusts the entire console's frame rate depending on what you do. The mouse lags and even gets stuck if you set the frame rate too low. What it's really showing is how it uses variable refresh rate to make lower frame rates look better, but I just like screwing with the slider. The 12th tech demo, HD Rumble 2 Maker, shows you the full range of vibrations that the controllers are capable of. You can freely select how strong or weak you want the vibrations to be, and can even select from a few presets that simulate different vibrations, like a golf ball being hit or a motorcycle starting up. The 13th tech demo, HD Rumble 2 Motorcycle, is another HD Rumble one. Okay, we get it. The HD Rumble is good. This time we're riding the motorcycle we started up in the previous tech demo. I've personally never ridden a hog, so I can't comment on how accurate this feels, but it seems realistic. I could almost feel the wind blowing in my receding hair as I sped down this pitch black road. The final tech demo, 3D Sound, showcases the console's improved handheld speakers. A helicopter flies around you, and the sound simulates where it would be in real life. It really makes you feel like a helicopter is about to ram you from behind. These tech demos do a good job showcasing what brand new things the Nintendo Switch 2 can do. Sure, half the demos are HD Rumble 2 based, but that's because other consoles have already done a good job showcasing the power-based features like 4K and VRR. The Joy-Con's rumble and mouse modes are unique, so it makes sense they would want to highlight the many different ways developers could use these features. The minigames are slightly more advanced tech demos, and are the most exciting part of Welcome Tour in my opinion. They showcase mouse mode, rumble, handheld, the accessories, and more in time-based or high-score-based minigames. Most of them have varying levels of difficulty, with the later levels providing genuine challenges. They reward up to 3 medals depending on how quickly you can complete them or how many points you rack up. The final medal for each minigame is usually the hardest, almost always requiring a near-perfect completion. The first minigame you'll encounter is Dodge the Spiked Balls. Using mouse mode, all you have to do is guide the UFOs to, as the name suggests, dodge the spike balls. Level 1 tests how long you can survive. Level 2 has you rack up points by collecting the falling stars. Level 3 has you collecting stars again, but this time using 2 mice at the same time to control 2 UFOs at once. The final level 4 is the same as level 3, just with more spike balls that fall faster than before. A visitor touts this as the most challenging minigame in Welcome Tour, but I found that if you just control both Joy-Cons with one hand, it becomes much easier. The UFOs may get split up occasionally, but you can just ram them into a corner to sync them up again. What really would have made this minigame truly devilish is if the walls were made of spikes too. Speed Maze has you use mouse mode to guide the ball through the different mazes as fast as possible while avoiding the electric walls. Level 1 has long horizontal paths that get narrower at each turn. Level 2 has you going up, down, left, and right with 90-degree angle turns. Level 3 requires you to move in curved directions to navigate the glasses-shaped maze. And Level 4 adds some randomness with multiple moving walls, creating a Frogger-esque stage. Speed golf is golf! You use mouse mode to rotate the club and whack the golf ball at different speeds to get it in the hole as quickly as possible. Level 1 is wide and only has one hole. Level 2's paths wave up and down. Level 3 requires you to quickly rotate your club 90 degrees between each shot. And Level 4 may look daunting with its many holes, but there's a path to get a hole in one, so with enough attempts, anyone can complete it. Click Quick is a straightforward minigame where you simply use mouse mode to click on the different targets. Level 1 features one target placed horizontally to the right. Level 2 has 3 targets in a triangular pattern above your mouse. Level 3 has 4 targets rotating in a circle. And Level 4 has 5 targets that appear one after another in completely random spots that change every attempt. Color the Shapes channels your inner child by asking you to color each picture without going outside the lines. You use mouse mode to fill it in and can rotate the controller to rotate the brush for tighter spots. Each level contains a more difficult puzzle, starting with a triangle, then a star, then some flowers, and ending with a snake. You're judged based on how fast you can completely fill in each picture, and going outside the line even by a pixel will end your run. Balloon Hunt shows one of the more interesting and potentially controversial uses of the Switch 2's mouse mode. One hand holds the Joy-Con normally, controlling movement with the left stick, while the other is used in mouse mode for more precise aiming, combining the best of both input types. Using this control scheme, you have to navigate the areas and shoot down the floating balloons as fast as possible. Each level requires tighter accuracy, with level 1 just having large balloons, level 2 having smaller balloons within the larger balloons, and level 3 having tiny bombs attached to 3 smaller balloons that break all 3 when detonated. I call this controversial because in competitive shooters like Fortnite, these players are going to have an advantage over their fellow controller users. This will be such an interesting way to play single-player games though, like Metroid Prime 4, so I love that they included it here. Scrape Off has you using the Joy-Cons to simulate scraping paint splatters off a wall. I hate this one. They tell you to scrub slowly in places where there's more paint and faster on the edges, but that never seemed to make a difference for me. Level 1 was already hard enough for me to complete, but level 2 added an even bigger paint splatter. I eventually learned that all you have to do is scrub as fast as you can like a madman, completely ignoring their tips. Stunt Driving has you steer a race car to showcase how gyro and mouse controls can work together. You can steer the car normally by moving the mouse on a flat surface, or can have the car drive on 2 wheels to avoid obstacles and collect speed boosts. You can't steer the car while it's driving on 2 wheels, so you need to quickly swap between the 2 modes to maneuver through each course. There's only 2 levels with both having similar basic courses. Level 1 has a cool little wavy section, and level 2 introduces some switches that move obstacles out of the way. The medals are awarded based on how fast you complete each level, with the last ones requiring near perfect runs where you hit every speed boost. Breaststroke is another one of the more simple minigames. You use 2 Joy-Cons in mouse mode to simulate the swimmer's hands, and you have to quickly make swimming motions to reach the goal as fast as possible. The course is just a straight line with no obstacles, so the only challenge is making sure you move both Joy-Cons at the same time. There's no other levels either. They could have easily added obstacles or turns to make it more challenging, but nope, it's just one course for a filler minigame. Slot in the Shapes is a simple mouse-based minigame where you grab the different shapes and rotate them to fit into their corresponding holes as quickly as possible. Level 1 has you do this 4 times, and level 2 has you do this 8 times, but with moving holes. This minigame showcases basically the same thing as the coloring one did with the mouse plus orientation mechanics, but at least this one makes it a larger part of the gameplay. Find the Strongest Rumble is finally a non-mouse based minigame. I mean, it still uses the mouse, but the main emphasis is on the rumble. As you move the mouse across the screen, the controller will vibrate and you have to determine where on the board the strongest rumble is occurring. Level 1 has you finding the strongest rumble across the x-axis, level 2 steps it up by including the y-axis too, and level 3 goes bonkers by adding in false positive rumbles all over the board, which honestly doesn't make it that much more difficult. Finding the general area of the strongest rumble isn't too hard, but the last medals require you to find it almost exactly, which was extremely difficult and definitely required a lot of luck. Feel the Shape also combines rumble and mouse movement to simulate feeling different shapes. If your cursor is hovered over a piece of the shape, the controller will vibrate, and if you're not, nothing will happen. Using these clues, you have to accurately guess which shape is hidden as quickly as possible. Level 1 has you picking between different shapes, and level 2 has you picking between different letters of the alphabet. Match the Rumble is a matching game where you click on one card that plays a rumble and try to match it with another card that's playing the same rumble. The different rumbles are based on real-life things, like the examples we saw in the Rumble Maker tech demo. You're judged on how many moves it takes you to beat the game, but there's surprisingly no second level containing even more cards, which I felt would have been a no-brainer. Guess the Frame Rate has you guessing frame rates. They first show you a video of a moving ball, and then give you the choice between two different frame rates, and you have to select which one the video was playing at. Level 1 is easier since the two FPS options are dramatically different from each other. Level 2 is more difficult because the two options are much closer to each other. This is a good minigame to show to anyone that says the human eye can only see up to 30 FPS or whatever. Touch 10 is Twister for your fingies, and is one of the few minigames that requires you to play in handheld mode since it uses the console's touch screen. There's 28 colored dots, and each round you have to place a different finger on a randomly chosen color. The game goes until all 10 fingers are on a dot, or when one of your fingers is no longer pressing down on a dot. Level 1 has 4 different colors spread out in a striped pattern, Level 2 has the same 4 colors but randomly spread across the 28 different spaces, and Level 3 has 7 different colors in column patterns. This was such a fun concept, and it can even be played with friends. Just make sure everyone washes off their hands before touching the screen. It already smudges easily enough. Guess the Angle is another minigame that requires you to take the system out of the dock. In this one, you have to adjust the console's kickstand to match the angle shown on the screen. Level 1 gives you a target angle and a picture hinting at how the switch will look, but Level 2 only shows you the angle degree you need. This is a crazy minigame, and it's cool that the console can track what angle the kickstand's at. I just doubt many games, if any, will use this feature at all. LCD Pixel Hunt is the final minigame that can only be played in handheld. There's 3 white pixels floating on the screen, and you just have to tap on them once you see them. They are legitimately 1 pixel, so they might be hard to spot depending on what brightness you select. Level 1 has the pixels staying in the same general area, while Level 2 has them slowly drifting around. 4K Pixel Hunt is the exact same, except the 4K display is required to play and there's 5 pixels instead of 3. The good thing about this one is that if you're having trouble spotting the pixels, you can just get a little closer. Open the GL/GR locks makes use of the new buttons located on the back of the... One quick trip to Best Buy and I'm ready to play. Before you begin, they require you to map the A and B buttons to the GL and GR buttons specifically, which makes the minigames easier but also gets you familiar with using these brand new buttons. In this game, you simulate opening locks by pressing, holding, or releasing the controller buttons shown on the screen. Level 1 is shorter with easier button combinations, and Level 2 is longer and slightly more complex. Both combinations are the same every time you play them, so after enough attempts you'll be able to memorize what comes next and easily earn their final medals. Level 3, however, is completely random every time you play, so you'll really have to know your way around a controller if you want to earn all its medals. Facial Impressions makes use of the Nintendo Switch 2 camera. Crap! Okay, luckily any USB camera is compatible with this game, so I'm saved from visiting Best Buy a 3rd time today. After calibrating your camera, the game shows you a face with a specific expression, which you then have to mirror as closely as possible. You're then judged on how accurately you match the different aspects, like the eyebrows, eyelids, where you're looking, mouth, and angle. After 5 rounds, your scores are added up, and you're awarded a medal depending on how well you did. This is a simple concept in practice, but words cannot express how difficult it was for me to obtain all 3 of its medals. For the final medal, you need 450 points, which means you need to score, on average, 90 points per face, which just seemed like an impossible task. Every round, something would go wrong. The face would move, it wouldn't register me puffing my cheeks, the eyelids would only open or close, never in between. The mouth would sometimes just deduct points for seemingly no reason. I don't know if this was because the detection was bad, or because I was wearing glasses, or because I wasn't using the official camera, but it seemed like there was always something out of my control deducting my points. I started to feel like a speedrunner, resetting after the first phase if I didn't get a good enough score, just praying I could find a golden layout of easy faces, or just get lucky enough to score well. People complain about the Find the Rumble and Spike Ball minigames being BS, but at least with those you could actually get better and beat with skill. This one just seemed completely random and luck-based. I guess that's what I get for not using the official Nintendo camera. And those were all the 20 minigames included with Welcome Tour. Most were fun, especially the challenging ones, and I like that obtaining the hardest medals usually required a near perfect completion of the minigame. There were a lot of mouse ones, but I honestly didn't mind that. It's one of the more unique parts of the console, and they were usually the most fun. Sure, not all were winners and there were some stinkers, but I'm glad they all highlighted different aspects of the console. After obtaining all the medals though, there's not a big reason to return to a lot of these minigames. They do track your higher score, but I can't really see anyone repeatedly booting up Welcome Tour to beat their minigame records. At the end of the day, they are just small minigames in a tech demo, so we really can't expect too much from them. I hope your favorite part about school was test taking, because that is what a majority of Welcome Tour is all about. Yes, that's right. Paying for this game allows you to study various subjects and then take a quiz on what you've just learned. The quizzes focus on different parts of the console's features and sometimes Nintendo's history dealing with said feature. There's 50 quizzes and 180 insights, which were the study materials found before each quiz, usually containing multiple pages of material. Obviously, this isn't going to be for everyone. You really have to be interested in learning about the intricacies of the console to get the full enjoyment out of this, and even then it starts to get a bit draining just due to the sheer number of quizzes and insights. There were a lot of neat and random little tidbits I learned from these though. They really get into the nitty-gritty on a lot of design aspects. I won't make you sit through and study these like I did, but I will share some of the more interesting things I learned from these quizzes. You can use mouse mode on the Nintendo Switch 2's home menu to navigate it. I didn't actually learn this from an insight, rather a random NPC, but I thought it was cool enough to include. The Joy-Cons can be attached to the console backwards and upside down, but they won't charge. In handheld, the console automatically edits the sound emitted to make it seem like it's playing directly at you, when in reality it's coming out of the console diagonally downwards. The small gap between the Joy-Cons and console is intentional to reduce leverage so that it's harder to rip them off the console incorrectly. The Switch 2's power cord is thinner than the Switch 1's. Yes, this is really how in-depth some of these insights get. The dock is rounded to make it easier to detach the Joy-Con controllers, and one of its feet contains a tiny bit of extra plastic to help prevent it from tipping over if the cord is pulled. The Pro controller is modeled after the GOAT GameCube controller, specifically the thinner grip area where you hold it. And while the Joy-Con Wheel 2 is clearly larger than the Joy-Con Wheel 1, when I put that on the quiz, they said I was incorrect. There's obviously a lot more to learn, but these were just some of the standout ones that really showed the vibe of these quizzes and how much thought goes into every little aspect of the console's design. While a lot of the information was interesting, they definitely could have gotten away with less insights or quizzes. Some quizzes dove into broader technological topics like frame rates or the pins on a microSD, and since these aren't specific to the Switch 2, I feel like they could have removed them to even out the number of insights compared to the rest of the game. There were even a few times where the insights just straight up repeated themselves, and at that point, what are we doing, man? I don't mind them, I'm just nitpicking because they're the largest part of the game by far, so if you're gonna 100% Welcome Tour, you will be doing a lot of reading and a lot of quizzes. Speaking of 100%ing the game, what is required to achieve this goal? Well, collect all 157 stamps to access every area and unlock the final quiz, find and return all 12 lost and found items from each of the different exhibits, complete every task in each of the 14 tech demos to earn their medals, earn all 3 medals in each of the 51 different minigames, including the tech demo medals. This makes for a grand total of 167 medals, and read all 179 insights and complete the 49 quizzes related to them, including the final quiz located at the end of the stamp rally. This makes for 50 total quizzes that you must get a perfect score on. So after collecting every stamp, medal, lost item, after completing every tech demo, minigame, insight, quiz, after buying a 4K TV, a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, and an adapter for a USB camera, what is the reward for 100%ing this game? Nothing! Yeah, this game ain't worth it.